Hi everybody, Matt Bull here from Action Coach Loughborough, here with another episode of the Business Spotlight, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Bruce Wheeler from Wheeler's Luxury Gifts right here in Loughborough. How are you today, Bruce?
Very good, thank you, Matt, and it's a pleasure to be joining you also.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. Let's get started then. Please just tell our viewers a little bit about the business and when you started it.
Okay, so I opened my shop in Loughborough in 1980. During that time, it has evolved immensely with the changing high street presence and also the online presence. We're at now mainly functioning online. We still have a retail presence for customers if they wish to walk in. To still buy the produce the good old-fashioned way, but the main part of a business is now online.
Excellent. So 1980, so that's a decent amount of time now. I'm not going to go as quickly now. I mean, if you can remember back when you started, what was it about starting your own business that really inspired you or just made you want to open your own shop?
Okay, so initially I used to work in the china and glass trade. JWL in Leicester used to be a china and glass shop, in Edwards of Derby we had shops. At that time, obviously, china and glass was very the collectible industry that people used to collect and want dinner services and nice fine crystal. I did my management in JWL in Leicester, and I saw how successful it was and the money that they took. And I thought, well, if I can do this for you, I can do this for myself. So I went out looking for a location and I found a shop in Loughborough. At that time in 1980, it was probably a little bit easier to start your own business up. I found the freehold shop. I went in to speak to the landlord. At the time, I was only 21 years of age.
Wow.
So I knocked on the landlord's. He was the shop next door to me, Ivor Walker, painter and decorating shop. And I knocked on his door and said, "Oh, you've got a shop to let next door. Would you be willing to let it to a 21-year-old who wants to start his own business?" I got on really well with him. He had children of his own, so I think he sympathised with me a little bit with a young chap wanting to start out. He was ever so helpful, and I said, "Well, I need some money to start. Can you recommend me to a bank?" And he said, "Well, I know the bank manager at Lloyd's Bank in Market Street. You go and see him." So again, arranged an appointment, and I say, you wouldn't be able to do it today, but again, I walked into the bank and managed to persuade him to lend me £10,000, which was quite a bit of money in that day. No collateral. At the day, the bank manager in that market town was responsible for looking after his bank, his customers, and if any of the customers went wobbly out of business, and obviously it was up to that manager to sort it out. But anyway, he lent me the money, and so I opened, as I say, a china and glass shop at that time, and we started to do reasonably well, and we obviously, like all businesses, probably had growing pains as the business grew. I needed some more money, so I went back to the bank manager again, said, "Can you lend me another £10,000?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, that should be fine." I said, "My wife comes into your shop, her friends come into your shop, we can see, we like what you're doing, you're bringing something to the town." And he lent me another £10,000, and that is how we started.
Brilliant. What do you, if you remember back to those, I mean, the first 3 to 5 years for any business are often on the toughest. If you reflect back, what do you think it is that you had about you? What were the key lessons that you had at those early days that you think really enabled you to make the business work?
I'd certainly think youth, enthusiasm, wanting for it to succeed. The other thing, as I said to you, at the time I was 21 when I started it. Thankfully, luckily I was still living at home with mum and dad, and they supported me greatly. So I was lucky, for the first probably 5 years, I didn't really draw a wage out of it as such, or very, very minimal wage. And I think that not having that overhead in the business, or not having to draw money out of it personally to begin with not perhaps having a family, children, mortgage of my own to pay, that helped the business grow quickly, because the overheads were very low, youth and enthusiasm.
Yeah, brilliant. And then over the course of that time, even in the course of the last 10 years, retail's shifted massively.
Yes.
In the last, even if we just think about the last 5 years, how's retail shifted for you, and what have you guys had to do to pivot and keep up with the changes that we're all seeing?
Okay, I may take you back a little bit further than that.
Please do.
Than that, Matt. As I say, 20 years ago, we've been in business 40 years, but 20 years ago, we realised china and glass wasn't what it was. We always used to be top end. We used to, Dalton, Wedgwood, Minton, Dresden, Meissen, all those brands are always top end brands. And probably your parents, you can associate with it, Ladro, Dalton Ladies. Our parents used to put what I call money into the house. The house was a castle, and they used to put money in the house, and they used to like all the ornaments around the room. They used to have the dinner services, Wedgwood, the suite of Waterford crystal and cutlery, lovely cutlery, and they used to entertain at home, and you used to have your own separate dining room, and you used to sit in your dining room and entertain. We realised 20 years ago that the new kids today, or the new money as I call it, I call the new money that we're after, between probably 25 to 50-year-olds, that they weren't interested in china and glass. It was minimalistic, and it's what I call visual wealth. They wanted more visual wealth. Your parents had your wealth in their home, and you didn't really see somebody's wealth till you went in the house to see the pictures on the wall and, I say, the ornaments. I say the new money, they want visual wealth. It's what car you drive, what watch you have, what holiday you've been on. It's all about tags and display. So we came out of china and glass 20 years ago, and we went into more handbags, pens, watches, as I say, visual wealth. We did a wrap with that, with walk-ins, and the high street was still busy. And then we realised that the internet was getting stronger and stronger, and we needed a presence on the internet. And about 10 years ago, we launched, 15 years ago, launched our first website. We've had about 3 websites since then, totally every 5 years, upgrading them as the new technology comes along. And then we had COVID in year 2000. And I honestly thought, when COVID first came, I thought, right, that's it, we're done. We've been in business for 20 odd years. We're finished. And actually it had the complete opposite effect, because we already started our internet about 10 years prior to COVID. We saw an absolute boom in business. People were at home, they were on 85% of salary, they weren't going to pubs, they weren't going to restaurants, they weren't going on holidays. So they had so much disposable income that we just absolutely accelerated in growth and sales. And I think what happened during COVID it just accelerated what was going to happen in the next 10 years, as in people got used to using the website. Obviously you've had Amazon, next day deliveries at home. So we are now 80% online and probably 20% retail.
Interesting. I mean, it's interesting what you say about that split now, and about you've maintained your high street presence throughout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How for you as Loughborough changed? What's your view of the high street at the moment? Okay.
If we didn't have our website, we wouldn't be in business now. It's as simple as that. Footfall on the high street is getting less and less. It's not just Loughborough where we are. Generally it's getting less and less. You've got car parking charges. People are taking away on-street parking in smaller towns. We're a destination shop, and as a lot of towns have destination shop, and the shoppers want to come in, park easily, go to shops they want, and go home. They don't really want to park in a car park that's a 5-minute walk to get into town, or having to pay £5-10 to park the car. I think the councillors are making it more difficult, for people to get in, park easily, and do the shopping they want and go out. We keep our shop front because we have to keep our shop front. The luxury brands that we sell, like Montblanc and Hugo Boss and Paul Smith, they still insist on a retail presence, and I get that. So if the client has a problem, if they need to see somebody, we are visible, we're accessible, and we're there. A lot of people who we find who shop online, they still want somebody that's accessible and somebody who answers the phone, rather than have to go through a robotic response, or you can't speak to anybody, or they don't even have a phone line. So you could be trading on an industrial estate in the middle of nowhere, but doing what you want and not sending goods out. And if customers got a problem, you're shirking from your responsibility. So having a shop in the high street, we're still visible, we're still present, and we're accessible if anybody wants to come in and see us.
Brilliant. As you reflect on 40 years in business, I mean, a lot of people watching this will be at the potentially at the start of their journey. They may have been in business a while, but they probably haven't been in business 40 years. What are the key lessons you take from your time in business?
I feel very sorry for people trying to start up in business now, because the hoops and hurdles they have to jump through if they want to borrow money. They're going to have collateral behind you. It's very difficult. As I said, in my day, it was the local bank manager in the town that took the punt on you as an individual. If he liked you and he liked your personality and your charm, and you could obviously sweet talk him, but you had to have the gift of the gab a little bit, as any salesperson has to have. So that I feel sorry for them. As I think the start of the business is a lot more difficult now. In answer to your question, hard work, enthusiasm. Don't get down on it. You are going to, as I had many setbacks, but just dust yourself down, get up, try and go again. Not be beaten. If you got your goal and your vision, keep on at it. Hard work, blood, sweat and tears, basically. And also, as I was very lucky to have a very supportive wife. As I said, I started when I was younger, was not married and like that, but then I did get married, and my wife, it's hard work having your own business. At the time I was working 6 days a week. We had children, only saw them on Sundays. It was hard work. So you have to commit to the cause.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And is there anything you'd have done differently as you reflect, Bruce?
No, there's things that you say it's wiser to be after the event, but there's bits I think, well, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. But at the time it seemed the right thing. I opened 2 or 3 more shops, which as the retail walk-through business declined from the high street, we lost a bit of money there, and we had to close those shops. But at the time, it was the right thing to do. And sometimes you got to, the other thing, to answer your question about with advising people, sometimes you've got to admit to your mistakes quickly, or acknowledge it was a mistake, and get out of it, rather than trying to be brave and lose face. But no, I don't look back on anything. I've enjoyed it tremendously. Running your own business is hard. I still think it's a lot more enjoyable than working for somebody else. As to particularly, well, it swings and roundabouts. Being, told what to do and living in a big corporate bubble. When I say swings and roundabouts, when I first started the business 40 years ago, we didn't have all the HR and all the hoops we have to jump through now and everything. So running your own business is a lot more difficult with all that. But I still think it's worth it.
Yeah. Excellent. Listen, Bruce, absolute pleasure. This is one of those episodes that definitely could be longer than the 15 minutes we go for, with the experience you've got and everything you've been through. So an absolute pleasure to have you on this episode of the Business Spotlight. Thank you for your contribution and insight.
It's a pleasure, Matt. And likewise, as I said before, I feel sorry for the people starting up. More than happy if anybody wants to phone me or for a chat or guidance, more than happy to speak to people one-on-one as well.
Brilliant. We'll make sure your details are in the comments below this video. Many
thanks. Yeah.
To our viewers, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Spotlight.